Hello and welcome to another episode of A Coffee with Chris. As always, brought to you in association with our charity partner, 𝗖𝗵𝗿𝗄, who help local people affected by cancer, and proudly sponsored by Hill Coaching Company, here to help you become a better version of yourself today. One more plug before we get into the conversation. I'm delighted to announce a brand new, exciting, valuable event coming up in September in partnership with both Naked Marketing and Plain Speaking PR. We're going to be speaking about how to build your business brand without the, as you can see, I won't swear on this, but you know where I'm going there. Anyway, if you want a ticket, grab one. I'll send you the link. It's going to be a fantastic one here in Norwich. Let's welcome today's guest. So happy to be joined by my old friend, Managing Director of Indigo Swan, James Groves. Indigo Swan are an award-winning independent energy consultancy based in Norwich. James, let's kick off with the questions we always do. What does being a leader on LinkedIn actually mean to you?
Such a big question. Such a big question. Firstly, hi, Chris. And thanks for having me on, mate. I think for me, it's about setting an example, first and foremost. For me, being a leader on LinkedIn is about setting an example to, first and foremost, your team, the people that work for you, putting yourself out there, giving your thoughts, whether that be thought leadership, whether that be energy content, whatever it may be. It's about setting an example to my team that if you put yourself out there, good things can happen in return. Conversations can be started. And from that, great things can happen for us as a business and us as individuals. So setting an example is first and foremost. For me, it's about leading the charge. So if I take our sector specifically, for example, in the energy consultancy sector, we're an unregulated sector. We'll always championing more regulation. We'd like to see more regulation. We'd like it to be a more trusted and transparent sector than we currently are. And so also for me, it's about leading on that conversation and about putting my thoughts out there about how can we have more regulation and how can we make sure that, competitors and people in our world are maybe acting in a bit more of a responsible way, and anything I can do to have my say on that piece, as a small SME business who might not always be able to be in the big conversations, we try and get our way there. LinkedIn is a great platform for me to make sure that I'm having my say on behalf of Indigo Swan and a reputable business within our sector. So they're the two main things, Chris.
And for those reasons, James, is exactly why I wanted you to come on. It might sound a bit strange to someone that I've got the managing director of an energy consultancy on the show, but this isn't just a marketing geek off. I really want you to really just set the scene and talk about how you've done it, James, because I've been so impressed with all of your LinkedIn behaviors, as well as activity, as well as content, everything that you do. It's so impressive. So I guess we should then follow that up, James, with why do you think business leaders need to take LinkedIn seriously? And also, when did the penny drop for you, James?
Yeah, so I'll answer in two parts. So firstly, why wouldn't you? Is my honest answer to that. There's not many people that are in the business profession at a certain level that don't have a LinkedIn profile. Whether they're being active with or engaging. I can appreciate now, and I can be honest with you, they're definitely snooping. So whether they're clicking a like button, whether they're doing a post, they're logging on and having a look. So for me, if you're a business leader, why wouldn't you? It's for most, if you just have the basic, it's a free service, to be able to go on there and talk about your business and what you do. Don't get me wrong, nobody likes the whole sell LinkedIn. I don't believe that's what it's for. But you've got an opportunity to drip into the content that you're releasing, your services and what you do and what you can offer, whether it be testimonials from clients, whether it be shouting out a colleague who's done an amazing job for somebody, whether it be praising a supplier that you work with or someone in your supply chain, whatever it might be, there's content to be had there. So for me as a business leader, A, well, why wouldn't you be? B, for me, it's a channel that brings attention to you. You bring attention to yourself. You put yourself out there. I believe, if anything, you've got to put yourself out there to get something back. You have to. Good things happen to good people. Positive things happen to positive people. If you put yourself out on these platforms, whether it be LinkedIn, Instagram, Facebook, whatever works for you in your business, if you put yourself out there, you'll get something back. If you don't even give it a go and you don't even try, well, then don't Don't sit there and go, well, I ain't got anything. Well, no, of course you haven't got anything because you haven't tried to do something. So, whatever you're selling, whether you're selling energy like me and the services, we're a service business. So we're selling services within the energy space, or whether you're selling shoes or whether you're selling beer, coffee, whatever you're doing, it's a place to get your product, whatever that may be, out to a wider audience. So it's not just local, national, and find people supporting you across the board. I think that's the other thing for me is, as a business leader and my content I put out there, it's liked by people across hundreds of different sectors. So it's not just about the energy sector. There's the energy bit that we'll probably talk about a little bit later and why I do that. But for me, it's about getting the content out there and getting the Indigo Swan message out there and James Groves' message out there and connecting with people from hundreds of different sectors who are all probably experiencing similar problems, who are all probably having the same stories to potentially tell, same challenges.
So James, then what's interesting for me is then that's amazing, but for the leaders that are lurchers, we'll call them, and they're looking around, they're not doing anything. They've got these profiles that exist, but they're not actually doing anything with it. What was the moment for you when you went from a LinkedIn lurcher to a LinkedIn winner? I
started getting some new business, Chris.
Okay,
and I have to be honest. I think some people think I do it for the joy, and there is an element of me that absolutely does. I like having a platform where I can give my thoughts on leadership, culture, engagement. If I then shift that to the business that I have, I started to get people sliding into my DMs, and not in that way, but I started getting people sliding into my DMs saying, James, could you help us out with this? Or James, I've got this problem with British Gas, or I've got this problem with E.ON, or I've got this problem over here. Or James, do you know any solar providers? Whatever else it might be. And people started just coming and dropping me messages. And I was like, oh, hang on a minute. This is interesting. I'm putting my thoughts out there, bit on energy, but mostly on the other stuff that I've got a passion for. So leadership, engagement, culture, etc. And then people were slipping in my DMs going, can you help me out? And I was like, well, absolutely, I can. I'll give you a call. We'll have a chat, and then I'll pass you on to my team, and we'll help you. And so the penny dropped when I went, oh, well, do you know what? This is not just a place for me to come and talk about the things I'm passionate about in business. It's also somewhere I can come that is actually going to generate some leads. It's actually going to generate some business for me. And then from there, I just tried to stay consistent with it, Chris, and just get going. And sometimes it's for new business, and sometimes it's just to get my thoughts out there, and sometimes it's just to have a say to a wider audience. It depends on the day and how I'm feeling, to be honest.
No, that's fine. We are going to go into the how, James, in a moment, actually, because I definitely want to sort of understand more about your strategy or your blueprint, or what you're following, or what your tactics are, and what you'd recommend for these. James, I love your honesty there. We're not just doing this for the fun. We're doing it to win business, right? Let's not pretend we're not. And in the last episode that we did, we spoke about actually maybe we need to just get a little bit more American, and we need to actually ask people, and we need to actually say something. Perhaps it's a thing that us Brits struggle with. You've said one key word so far, James. It's gold, attention. And I've spoken to so many leaders that don't want to put themselves out there because they think that getting attention is all about posing and posturing, and not helping, supporting, giving, serving, not selling. And that's what you do so well, which we'll get onto in a minute, James. So I think what you've said so far, you're preaching to the converted, my friend. The other thing as well, James, is it's very evident to me that you've seen other results. So yes, you've won new business from LinkedIn. What other results have you seen on and off the pitch, shall we say, with both Indigo Swan and perhaps your own personal life with LinkedIn?
Yeah, I think for me, from an Indigo Swan point of view, we've gained new staff that have engaged with the content. So we picked up talent. We've had people want to come and work here. We've had people come to interviews and go, I've seen James's stuff on LinkedIn. I've seen Amy's stuff on LinkedIn. I've seen Indigo Swan's stuff on LinkedIn. For me, that's great. I'm attracting great people to my business because they've seen our LinkedIn content. So from an Indigo Swan point of view, that's number one. Number two, buy-in from the team. We're an open plan office. We're big on culture. You understand, all that, Chris. But at the same time, they see me. The things I say to them day to day, they see me putting out there in the wild. So they know it's not just lip service.
Yes.
I'm not just paying lip service. The way I am to them, James Groves to them is James Groves to everybody else in any business over the world. Well, because I put it out on LinkedIn. The way I talk here is the way I talk there. I am who I am. That's it. Unapologetically so. So that works 100%. In my personal life, I run a leadership peer-to-peer support group. You know, for me, it opened up opportunities such as that, and people enjoying the stuff I put out there about leadership and my view on it and how I became the leader that I am today. And if there's, you know, for me, one of the biggest things with LinkedIn for me is how do I give back to the future leaders of tomorrow? And if there's a little bit of advice in 1 out of every 10 posts I put out there, that a little nugget someone grabs hold of, you know, then I'm really happy with that.
You also, James, said something to me off there, which I found really interesting. You threw a statistic at me actually about retention of clients. And I think this is something that people aren't thinking about with LinkedIn, especially leaders, business leaders, managing directors, co-founders, partners. By publishing content and being consistent with it and socializing and communicating with your network of partners and business associates, it's going to help with that, right?
100%. And so I got a story. I was telling the story to the team earlier today. We did a bit of a lunch and learn on LinkedIn, ironically. Good timing.
Amazing.
But within that, I was telling a story, and we were up north in Scotland. We got a fairly decent sized client base up in Scotland, and one of the directors at one of our largest clients came up to me at this conference, and he goes, "James, do you know what? I really love your LinkedIn content." And I said, his name was Tom. I said, "Tom, that's really kind of you." I said, "Anything specific that you like?" You know, good to get feedback, isn't it, Chris?
Yeah.
I said, "Anything specific that you like?" He goes, "Do you know what, James? I just love the posts you put up about your family. And I like the pictures you put up of your kids. And I appreciate that's not for everyone. Sometimes you want an emoji over their face. I understand everyone's different and that's their personal reasons. For me, I'm okay." So he goes, "I love it." And I go, "Tom, why do you love it?" He goes, "Well, because I get to see you and your life and you as a person. You know, I don't follow you on Facebook because we're a client. I don't follow you on Instagram because we're a client. But I do follow James Groves on LinkedIn. And if I get an insight into James Groves' life on LinkedIn, then I'm happy as a client because I'm getting to see the real man behind the person, that service I'm using." And for me, that was so powerful, Chris. Yes. Because I was like, I don't know if I needed the feedback or the reassurance. I think I needed something at that time a couple of years ago when this conversation happened, because I was like, I'm putting this stuff out there. I've got pictures of my son out there. I'm talking about my life and talking about my wife, X, Y, and Z. A bit of business intertwined into all of that always.
Yes.
But there was one of our biggest clients that enjoyed the content that was about my life outside of Indigo Swan. Yes. And they saw that as a massive positive and a reason they would want to stay as a client.
Fantastic.
So for me, that's the retention piece.
I love that, James. I couldn't agree more. I'm always happy to disagree on this podcast, to be clear. And I couldn't agree with that more. And I'm so conscious of, everyone says know, like, and trust, right? It's a pretty well-known phrase. You know, like, trust, you do business, you get that. And people also are very aware of the fact that they need to improve their likability, right? But the other thing that I don't think people are thinking about is that before we actually even do business, you have to like the person that you do business with. You can't just do business. Well, you can, but most people need to like them first, right? And so why would we not tap into that? And I feel like that's such still an untapped area of being a leader on LinkedIn is actually being authentic, which we're going to go into in a minute, James, and showing off, the man untied, so to speak. That's really important. I want to talk about I'm so aware of your time, James, so I want to fly through this. And I really want to talk about employer brand. And you spoke earlier about how that, because as a leader, not just as, the other external people at Indigo Swan as well, but as a LinkedIn leader especially, your content, there's a direct correlation between you publishing that and it being a magnet for attracting top tier talent. And I spoke to Luke Lane about this from Fulfilled as well. Yeah. And as you can imagine, he was a massive advocate of that. I'm interested to know a little bit more about that from you, James, because I think some leaders are quite worried of posting the wrong thing. But actually, just by posting, again, that seems to be attracting the right talent for your business. So you're spending less on recruitment fees, I'm guessing, and things like that.
We'll go on to your authenticity bit in a minute, Chris. But it comes back to a bit of that is what I put out is me. So if we're going to attract talent, they understand who I am.
Yeah.
If they don't like what I post, and that is fine. I appreciate there will probably be people that don't, Chris. If they don't, then fine. Then they won't come and work it. If they do, and it resonates with them, and they like it, and they've engaged with it, and they get it, and they come and work at Indigo Swan, they've got a little flavour of what it's going to be like. I'm representing the brand every single time I put a post out, every single time I put a little video out, every single time I choose the image that I put at the bottom of my LinkedIn post, whatever else it might be. Some people be like, I don't want to work for a guy who puts pictures of kids on LinkedIn. I get that. That's okay. Yeah. Some people be like, love that.
Yeah.
I like this guy. I'd like to work for this guy. And, that's the talent that we're looking to attract. And if you like it, come work it. If you don't, then that's also okay.
I'm so sure, James. I'm totally with you. And I'm so sure that not just prospective employees and staff and team want to see the leader. What's the cut of their jib? How are they communicating? Because I want to get a flavour of that before people know full well that you quit jobs because of the manager and not necessarily because of the business or what you do. And so again, another reason to as a leader, get yourself out there on LinkedIn. It couldn't be more important.
And that's it, Chris, isn't it? It is that. And it's like, I've got just a quick funny story. It's like, it comes back to new business, but then also people resonate with a brand. I was at a birthday party for a 2-year-old, and somebody had gone over to the mum of the kid and just gone, is that James Groves from LinkedIn? And I thought, well, I've never been known as James Groves from LinkedIn. So anyway, she comes over and she goes, I'm assuming you are James Groves from LinkedIn. I said, I assume so. So anyway, went over, had a chat with his lovely dad. He'd seen my content. We won them as a client. We had a nice chat. But the first thing he said to me, and it always stays with me, he goes, well, you must have a really wonderful business. That's a lovely place to work. And I was like, you know what? Nailed it.
And you never know who's looking, do you, James? So many people, as you said at the start, have a LinkedIn page. They view accounts. They don't necessarily put themselves out there. I'm sure you've got 1,000,001 stories as well, James. But I can tell you one for myself is I find it quite interesting when my average lead to sale time is completely blasted out of this atmosphere when someone actually viewed a LinkedIn post I did 3 years ago, and then they contact me. It's absolutely fascinating. James, how do leaders make this a reality? Because I know that they're watching and listening to this now, and they're going, "Oh my God!" But I just don't have the time. I don't have the time for LinkedIn. I just don't have the time. I'm above it. I can't do it. So, how can you go from a LinkedIn lurcher and make that into a reality to get all of these benefits that we're talking about?
Make it part of your strategy, but make it part of your daily day as a business leader.
Okay.
So I don't have any particular structure behind it. I just know that I want to be posting 2 to 3 times a week.
So you have no content pillars. No, you just post.
I just post.
Wow.
I just post.
There's no secret strategy. That's the truth.
No, there's not, because it's not. Strategies. It's a funny thing for me. Strategy is not necessarily authentic. If I went and wrote a strategy today and I said in 2 months' time I'm going to do a post about this, well, who knows if I'm going to care about that in 2 months' time? I know what I cared about this morning when I was coming to work, and that's what I'll post. Yeah. I know if I saw on Instagram Reels a quote that resonated with me, I know what I'll post. So it's part of my strategy in a way that I know 2 to 3 times a week I'm going to post. What I'm going to post, I've got no idea. Other than I know that something in those 2 to 3 days across the course of the week will resonate with me. It'll be something I'd like to share with the LinkedIn world. There'll be an element of it that I can tie in what Indigo Swan does, and there'll be an element of it that I can throw in my own personal opinion on how that ties into leadership and stuff. And that's what I put out there.
And how long does that take you to do, James? When do you create that content?
Just, I don't know, in the morning, 5-10 minutes. It sounds whatever, but it's the authenticity piece, Chris, because it comes back to that. I am who I am. I'll write what I write and I'll send it. Now, don't get me wrong. Sometimes there'll be a typo. Sometimes Amy will pick me up and go, "I want to check that." But I've sat there, I've written it, I'm happy with it, I've sent it. So the strategy is the time. The strategy is I'll make the time, whether it be 7 o'clock in the morning, whether it be lunchtime, whether it be in the evening after my post last night. And now, no, evening's a good time to post. Depending on the time of day, I will make the time 2 to 3 times a week. What I'm actually going to post will be something that has resonated with me, inspired me, or touched me in some way over the course of probably the last 24 to 48 hours that I feel is worth sharing.
That's brilliant, and it's refreshing. And I'm so happy that we've got that bit of wisdom from you, because social media and marketing and LinkedIn, it's all very well and good, getting geeked out on these fancy pants strict strategies. But the truth is, with you, James, you are a living, breathing example of someone that just turns up and you're just consistent. And I talk about this all the time. Execution over perfection. That typo, no one cares. No one cares. Seriously, no one cares. Apart from your colleague. Just get it out there. It's definitely the attitude to have, and you've reaped the benefits of that. Let's go into the world of authenticity.
I
think this is a bit of a delicate subject, because as you've already said, actually, if you over strategize, is that authentic? And we've also seen in the last couple of years, that the famous crying CEO post, which I'm sure you would have seen, where they are trying to be authentic, but actually they're making something a bit too dramatic. They're creating too much of a story. It's obvious that it's manufactured for LinkedIn vanity metrics. So how do you get authenticity right, James? And what advice have you got for LinkedIn leaders out there that you know, want to try being more them on the platform?
You got the first thing, and I was having this conversation again the other day with somebody, is life becomes in business and life, it becomes a lot easier once you're comfortable and you're happy with who you are as a person. It's as simple as that. I didn't used to be, Chris. I'm gonna get deep and meaningful on here, but I didn't used to be happy with who I was necessarily. But over the last 10 to 12 years, I've just become very accepting of the person that I am, and I'm very happy with the person I am. So I appreciate some people will like that, and maybe some people do not. But I'm all right with that, and I'm comfortable with that. And so I can be authentically myself without worrying about what anybody has to think about it per se. As long as I'm professional, as long as I present myself in a professional manner, as long as I am polite, and as long as I am respectful, then anything I have to say, people can agree or disagree.
Amazing.
But I'm comfortable with who I am. So sitting down at my keyboard to put a LinkedIn post out, some people will like it, some people won't, some people agree, some people won't. That's all right. I will go to bed tonight and I'll be okay with myself. But that's a journey. So some business leaders have not quite gone on that journey yet. They've got themselves into a business leader point, but they're not quite happy and comfortable with who they are as people. So they can't do their leading in the best possible way, in my opinion.
Is that because, James, and I don't know this, so feel free to decline or agree, is that because you've invested in personal development before you've gone on this LinkedIn journey? Are you a leader that invests in coaching, for example? Are you someone that it just comes naturally to you? Because there will be leaders listening and watching this now that are like, well, yeah, but I just kind of like to stay in the shadow, or I like to make the team front and center. So what's your...
I think an element of it is coaching, Chris. I think any business leader that hasn't had any level of coaching or mentoring is missing a trick. You got to have some. You know, I think big things that resonated with me were the insights, so understanding my color profile, the motivational maps, understanding my motivators. You know, those types of things just sort of put a rubber stamp on what I thought I knew about myself, but actually proved that was correct. And in some cases, maybe not correct. And I needed to have a little look at that. And you know, I had a business coach that didn't work in our business, really had no idea about what energy consultancy was about, but was very helpful to me as a person. And I had that for 6 years. And,
Amazing.
You know, for me, I'd be remiss to say that type of stuff doesn't help, but absolutely does. If you're a business leader, some sort of outside coaching and mentoring, it is needed. It is needed because it just allows you to open your eyes to a different perspective and a different world, and allows you to become a bit more comfortable with who you are, if I'm perfectly honest, and let you know that's okay to be who you are.
I fear that so much wisdom, knowledge, insight is being stopped by self-doubt. And so I completely recommend that actually, before you post on LinkedIn and be your authentic self on LinkedIn, actually, James, let's be honest, maybe actually that personal development work needs to be done.
Yeah, to find out who that is.
Yeah, and I say this in my talks that I deliver when I do consultancy. You know, it's 70% LinkedIn, and actually it's 30 or even 40% your mindset towards it, and being comfortable with who you are and not being afraid of judgment of your peers and colleagues and competitors. And I can go on and on. Interesting, and again, very validating, James. Thank you for being honest and open about that. What are the mistakes? What are the mistakes, James? What are the LinkedIn leadership icks that you get, and you want to cover your eyes and cry?
Just two. So the first one is people using LinkedIn as a platform to bash their supply chain.
Okay. Oh, yes. Competitor bashing. Yeah.
Oh, it's unreal. Either bashing the competitors or bashing suppliers they work with. So, like, if you take the energy world, some of our competitors will go on LinkedIn and they'll bash the energy suppliers. I'm like, everybody has a bad run. But that energy supplier is going to remember that you publicly bashed them. And when they come back around to being a great supplier, the service has improved, the next one, they're going to remember that. Have these conversations privately. Build nice relationships so you get the odd favor here or there. Don't do that. So bashing your supply chain, your competitors, that type of stuff. Number two, it's the lack of authenticity. Okay. Number two is when I meet people that I thought were going to be a certain way.
Oh, wow. And they're not who they were on LinkedIn.
Oh yeah, have I got the wrong LinkedIn? or you just know they've read a business book. Do you know what I mean? Because you've met them and you've gone, oh, you had a business book last night. Thought that was nice to share. And I've now met you, and I'm thinking, no, this doesn't tolerate. And that impacts me quite a lot, because I suppose I get frustrated by it partly because I am big on the authenticity piece. It does frustrate me slightly, because I am like, well, hang on a minute. If all this content that you've been posting over a certain period of time was authentic and legit, the person I've just had a half an hour conversation with would have not been this person I've just had a half an hour conversation with. So now I'm a little bit confused.
And that's damaging, James, isn't it? Right. And it's all very well. I don't want people to listen to our conversation today and be like, well, they're just saying I just need to post more on LinkedIn and stuff. Like, there is there's on the other side of the fence, there is a threat over here that if you're not being yourself on LinkedIn,
100%,
it could be more damaging, can't it? So there is, of course, a very fine balance to be had, isn't there?
It is, Chris. And it's like I said, we've got a team of people now would like to be a little bit more active on LinkedIn. I'd love all my team to be growing their personal brand. It's why we were doing the lunch and learn today. But the first thing they're going to be doing is I'll spend time with each of them one-to-one, seeing what the first post is going to be. Amazing. It can be about whatever they want. But to the point is, let's make sure it's you. If I'm sitting with Sarah, is that Sarah? If I'm sitting with Meg, is that Meg? Is that Leanne? I can have that view. I know these people well. So if I'm thinking, that is you, get out there, carry on, follow that thread and do that all the time. If I'm reading it going, hang on a minute, did you read something last night? I'm like, that's not you. Let's not share that.
But also that's not normal, James, because most leaders keep their team in handcuffs on social media. They want them to follow the brand guidelines, and you can't do anything that's a bit you. And actually, if you allow your team to almost become your own influencers, your own ambassadors for your business, it works so much better, doesn't it, James?
But then, Chris, this is the thing. Again, I was saying to the team today, I said, what a business is scared of? Business is scared of their talent being stolen, taken. Do you know what? I'm so comfortable with that. Because A, I've got to be good enough that they stay. But B, if somebody puts themselves out there and builds a personal brand, that they come and have a conversation with me and go, James, I got presented this opportunity. It's 10, 20 grand more a year. It's a promotion. It's for a bigger business. I just wanted to let you know. I'll shake the hand and say congrats and say, do you know what? I'm really glad I played a part in your journey and helped you get there.
Wow.
That's okay, Chris. That's all right, isn't it? I'm a small business with 32 people. I can't promote everybody. But if I get to play a small part in someone's journey that gets them somewhere bigger, and part of that is the personal brand they built on LinkedIn, I'm all right with that, Chris. I'm absolutely fine with that. And I celebrate that, and we'll all celebrate that as Swans, and that's absolutely not a problem.
James, that is an incredible way to finish this conversation. It was highlighting, validating. I think we've covered all corners. We've been honest. And you've dropped so many truth bombs. So we will have to do this another time soon. James, where can people connect with you, find you, do business with you?
Yeah, of course. So obviously find me on LinkedIn.
Yay!
James Groves, it's me because there's a swan emoji after my name. So that's easy. Or find us indigoswan.co.uk or email us at hello@indigoswan.co.uk.
Absolutely amazing. Thank you so much for your time today, James.
Well, welcome, Chris. Thanks for having me.
And thank you so much to everyone that's watched this, that's listened to it back. We really appreciate you tuning in. If you've got any feedback, drop it to us on social media at Reeve Social. Send us an email. Why not? chris@reevesocialmedia.co.uk. And as always, a big thanks to our official charity partner, Big C, who help local people affected by cancer, and our sponsor, Hill Coaching Company. And finally, do not forget, we've got a mega event coming up, Reputation Matters, in partnership with Naked Marketing and Plain Speaking PR, where we do business brand advice without the nonsense. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you this time next week for another episode of A Coffee with Chris.